All right. The music's over. All right. I got to change that music at some point. Hello, everyone. Glad you could be here. Thanks for joining me here this Friday afternoon. My name is Todd Rains, and we're in my shop in Allen, Texas. My wife, Shelly, and I welcome you, and we are the owners of Woodturning Tool Store. We've been doing this for quite a while, both the tool store, I guess 6 years now, and I've been live streaming for quite a while. So I'm glad to have you here. I'm glad to have all the folks here joining me today. So as you can see, we're going to talk a bit about shear scraping today. We're going to talk a little bit through that. I'm going to actually start with a little bit of theory. I know it's boring, but actually it's good. If you're a woodworker, you may know some of this stuff, but maybe this will help you explain it to others or just revisit it. If you're new to haven't ever woodworked but are wood turning, then this will be a good sort of introduction. We'll do a little bit of that, and then we're going to look at shear scraping on the lathes and what I call shear scraping and different terms and different things I talk about when I teach and show people. So stick around. It's going to be fun, and it'll be a lot of good learning stuff. So before we get into that, let me say hi to a few people. James, thanks for jumping in early. Appreciate it. Jim, same thing. That's good to see you here. And I'm trying to get down to the, and there is my wife, Shelly. She's joined us and saying happy Friday, everybody. Robert, good to have you here. David, always welcome and appreciate your comments. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're sweltering at about 100 degrees here in Texas this last weeks, I guess. We've actually got a lot of rain overnight 3-4 nights ago, which was nice. So our hibiscus plant is flowering like crazy. So that's good. Paul, good to have you here from overseas. Thank you for joining. And it's good to have you here. Gerald, good to have you here. Thank you for joining. Green Bay. Canadian fires are getting you smoked out again still. Okay, that's unfortunate. So breathe easy. Let's see. Lex and Bill and Lowell from, God, you said last week. I can't remember now. It's not Corpus Christi, Alamo, Texas? I think maybe that's right. I don't know. Lee from Alabama. Good to have you here. Ian from across the pond. Thank you for joining. Yeah, you won Cindy's raffle last time. Well done, well done. Jay, Ascadero, California, 91 on its way to 96. Yes, we don't consider that unbearable, just very warm. Yeah, it's unbearable. No questions about it. Let's see. Oh my, we got lots of people here. I'm gonna skip through a few. There's John. Andy Phillips from Corpus. Hey, Andy, good to have you here again. Robert, Bill, Roy Walker, local fella. Good to have you here. Our friend Tony and how's Nikki? Everybody in San Antonio, thank you for joining. Bob Elliott, Orlando Bob Elliott. So good to have you here. Nick, our friend from San Antonio, good to have you here too. Mark from Canada, good to have you here. How's it going, eh? Yeah, we grew up in Canada ourselves. So Cindy, thanks for joining. Appreciate you being here and stuff. So, oops, I think I skipped to the bottom. No, I didn't. There we go. There we go. Thomas Gentry. Yeah, good. We'll maybe see you in Rocky Mountain Symposium. We'll probably see you in Waco first, but I think that's where we first met a number of years ago. Good to have you here. Yeah, so let's get to it. I've got a couple of things. Maybe what I'll do is I'll show this one. This is how to get a hold of me, of course. I'm going to start and right into it, and then maybe halfway through, I'll do a little break and talk about what's coming up and a few things like that, and we'll go from there. So uh, into the overhead. So I'm okay. Shelly, just to make sure I'm still connected. I think I have some internet issues. I don't know if the heat is, warping the cables, but I did have some internet speed issues here today. So anyway, I'll take myself off there. It looks a little weird. This is my desktop on my lathe, and I've got a few things out here I wanted to show. It's a bit of a different setup than maybe you expected. And how's it looking, Shell? I'm good? All right, good. Yeah, I was stuck. So thanks. Bear with me if there's any internet issues. Just hang in there. We'll get there. Oh, by the way, these are always recorded. I had a number of people emailing me and saying that maybe they couldn't be here. You can find these live streams, these webinars, these sessions on Friday afternoons, or every other Friday afternoon at 2:30 on my website, as well as my YouTube channel. So on the website, go under, let's just see. If you look under the Explore Woodturning and the live streams, you'll see we've probably already started there. So this, you can find all of them, and all the other ones in the past are there. So that's a place to look for them. Know that they're there for your future reference. So what do I have on my table? I have on my desktop, I've got a clamp here, the chunk of wood. I've got a chisel and a plane, and I got some card scrapers. And what I wanted to talk about is a little bit about why shear scraping is, why this is relevant to shear scraping. And so this little bowl I wanted to show first, just to kind of see what we can do with shear scraping. This bowl has has no sandpaper. I touched it. This is straight off the tool with a bowl gouge and shear scraping with my scrapers. So it's very smooth. So it's got a nice finish on it. You can feel, if you go against the grain, you can feel the grain in there and stuff. But otherwise, it's very smooth. And same on the inside as well. And I'm trying not to destroy all this lichen that's growing on it and stuff. And so it's you can do a lot with shear scraping with and without sandpaper. Sometimes I know I'm not a good sandpaper guy, and so there's a number of pieces around the house that are left straight off the tool. So and sometimes I like that, especially for these sort of natural looking things. I just kind of leave them alone. So overhead view of that. Let's take a closer look. And we can kind of see right down in there. It looks nice and clean. I don't see any lifted up grain and stuff like that. There's maybe, it's hard to see, not even with the naked eye. Kind of look like there's some there. There's some right at the very bottom where you get that center ring. But otherwise, I find it's a little dusty. It's been hasn't been dusted lately. So, but that is this is kind of the things you can achieve with shear scraping. So, let me zoom back out to desktop size. We'll put this guy aside, and we'll explain what I'm doing with this other stuff. So, trust me, we'll get to the tools, the process, purpose, and all that stuff very shortly. But what I wanted to show was this piece of wood here. And I wanted to look at, I think I have it on this side. So bear with me a second. If we take a look at this little piece of pine, I've drawn black lines as to how the grain is flowing. So if I look at this, if I cut along this way, this grain or this chunk of wood is supported by the next chunk of wood. And so I'm going to plane in line with this guy. Why is this important to shear scraping? Because grain direction is important. in wood turning. So we need to know. So right now I'm turning this around the other way. So the grain is going this way. And if I take my plane to this, or even my chisel, and I kind of try and get that, I'm going to start digging into the wood there. You can see how that's kind of picking up right there. We'll plane that off. And we'll take a look overhead. And let's see that one. I've got to zoom in quite a ways. Oops, wrong way. And I have to take it out and just kind of get it centered up here. But we can see that we have torn that up quite a bit right in here. So if I just turn that sideways a little bit, maybe this other camera might even be better at picking it up. There we go. There's good. So all that's torn grain, right? Because these, when I cut this guy, it's lifting up. It's just like lifting up. And so if we turn that around, put that back in the clamp, and we plane this area up here, and I'll actually move this out a little bit just to get that area. We can clean all that up. So I'm going to zoom in, see how much I can zoom in here. I might have to back that off. Yeah, I'm going to have to switch cameras. That one's going to show it better. So bear with me a second as I get that. All right, so all this grain we just picked up, we can, and my clamp is a little too tall. We're getting nice curls off the plane because we're going with the grain. And so all that picked up grain is now cleaned up. And we're getting these nice curls coming off. And that's what we want to see. And this is the kind of thing grain direction really teaches you in woodworking. So if you plane this the wrong direction or chisel the wrong direction, you're going to lift up the grain. Same with carvers. Carvers will have the same issue. And so if we take a look at the next step and use a card scraper, first of all, let's look at the angle of the plane. This is where, let me do this one because this one's going to show a little bit better, but I need to focus that just a little bit. There we go. The angle of the plane in there is about like that. So we've got a angle that's cutting the wood at about 30 degrees on this front bevel. This plane, I think, has about a 25-degree bevel and a 12-degree bed level. So add those together, you get about 30 or 35 degrees. So we're cutting the wood at a fairly steep angle with this plane. So if we go to wood turning and what we do with a scraper flat on the rest, we're going to use the flat side of to represent that. We're cutting right there, and we're just kind of cutting in that direction like that with a flat scraper. If we shear scrape, then we're now turning it this way, but we're also angling it this way, and we're shearing up. So we do that with a card scraper in woodworking. This is a card scraper. It's in a handle. Just dropped my pen. So I've got this flexible card scraper that I can bend. And if I find where my burr is on this one, here, I can feel it. If I bend that and scrape along there, I start scraping this surface, and I'm getting, that's one way to scrape a surface clean. This guy helps a little bit. And so the angle between our scraper, and I'll use this again, and our wood is less than 90 degrees. There's 90 degrees, and this is where the chisel action was happening. So the different angles, positive and negative, I guess, if you will, this being, 0, 90 degrees being 0, and then this being a scrape, and this being a cut. is kind of what I kind of define all those things as. So that's kind of where I'm kind of starting this discussion, just so we understand why we're cutting with the grain direction and why we are changing the angle of our tool. So, and I thought that analogy with woodworking might help a little bit. So the last thing I want to do with the plane here is show, and I'll do an overhead view, is show, I'm going to back out a little bit, is when I plane this thing with the hand plane, I'm going straight, a little bit more out, you can see the whole thing. I'm going straight across the board. If I change this plane this way, I've now skewed the plane, and this is a skewed planing cut, and this sometimes makes it much easier to turn to plane. You see the curls, instead of coming up nice and coiled together like that, now they come out. Let me do one more. We'll compare. Spiraled. Right? So we look at the chip difference of what we're creating. This is a straight cut here. And this is a skewed cut here. So the chips tell you the story a little bit, right? So keep that in mind as well as we go through what we're going to do. So hopefully that that helped. Let me, before I tear all this down, I'll get my mouse pad out, and I will look at a few comments. Let's see. Going back, let's see. Brian's here. Thanks for joining, Brian. And looking forward to this. I'm still learning the tool myself. Yeah, we're going to look at the different shear scrapers in a second. So thank you for coming by. What kind of wood is that? This is a simple piece of pine. I thought it was easiest to use for demonstration of that kind of what I was doing here. So just simple little piece of pine I had. It makes good for demonstrating. Glenn's here. Michael's here. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it. Let's see. And Lex, I meant the bowl. Oh, the bowl. Oh, thanks, Lex. Yeah, the bowl is ash. This was little pieces of ash there. So yeah, good call. I didn't mention that, but this is ash. You kind of tell a little bit with the grain pattern on it. It's fairly identifiable. It was a nice piece. The bark stayed on, and got all these lichen bits on it. So I thought that was kind of cool. I left those on. So yeah, ash. One of my and Shelley's favorite woods to turn. Not always the easiest to turn, but is a good one. So we're caught up. So let me kind of tear this down, move a few things. If you have any questions about sort of that little bit of theory, please share in the comments below. Ask questions, and we will certainly try to answer. Bear with me a second as I just lost a. What was that? That was a magnet. All right. Things flying all over today. So there's the lathe bed. Let's get talking about shear scrapers. I guess I could have left that up for a quick second, but the first one we're just gonna look at some tools first. Different shear scrapers and tools to use for shear scraping. And so I'll refocus down here. And there we go. Okay, so this first one is very simple. It's just a high-speed steel scraper, and this is a Sorby tool. And all I've done, and this tool I created 2008 when I took a class with Al Sturt. And this is the kind of shear scraping tool that I learned with, and I learned from Al. So it's a slightly radiused edge, going from high point on the right to low point on the left, almost like a skew, but it's a single bevel scraper, and just about 70 degrees or so. It's not a negative rake, it's just a single bevel tool. So that's number one. Number two is my teardrop scraper, which if I take that cutter off there, it's on a half round bar. This half round bar allows me to pivot the tool any way I want. But if we compare this cutter with this tool, you can see that we've got pretty much the same shape on that tool as well. So I'll zoom in that a little bit. And so there's the Sorby tool, and there is the T1 high-speed steel scraper. So I get the same sort of curve there, but I also get rounder curves, pointier curves, multiple edges on the teardrop scraper. So so a bit more versatility with this. Next, we have a couple of manufactured tools. Not that these other two aren't, but we've got a spear point scraper from this one. I think is a Carter and Son tool. So it's a single bevel tool in that it's only got one bevel. It's got bevels on both sides of the point, but that allows you to shear scrape this way as well as this way. So it's usually the bottom wing you're shear scraping with, almost always. I wouldn't shear scrape at the top. So that is a Carter and Son tool. Robust has a similar tool. I think there's other ones out there, and you can obviously shape your own. It takes a lot of time to grind that away. Next is another one we're going to look at today, and this is the iron shear scraper. And this is a triangular sort of cutter head on a bar. And the nice thing about this is it's got a spring washer in it, so you can actually rotate it to the new edge as you use it. And so that's kind of handy. And this one is same single bevel tool, single bevel edge. Zoom in here a little bit. And you can see there's a hex key nut or screw on the top, 5/8 bar, and a fairly robust, thick scraper on it. Again, it's about 75 degree bevel on that tool. The last tool is a bowl gouge. So we've all learned about bowl gouge shear scraping, so we'll look at that as well. And my bowl gouge preference is a long swept back wing with a slight convex top to the wing. So yeah, so we'll look at those four or five different tools on different turnings. So what do we start with first? Let's start with just checking the question answer. Let's see. Lowell says, that's the best explanation of negative rake scraping I've ever seen. So thanks, Lowell. I appreciate it. Hopefully that helps everybody as well. And from Robert from Sharps Chapel, Tennessee. Fred Walk says, I can't see anything black screen. Is there a place where you can watch the video later? Yes. So good point. I'll just point this out quickly again. If we look at the web page here, Fred, if you go to Woodturning Tool Store, and I've got to navigate to the page, go to the Woodturning Tool Store, and then, oops, my cast just died. Just give me a second. Let's try this again. See if it'll work. Failed to cast, available, casting. There we go. All right, let's see if it holds. I don't know if it's going to hold. And go into Explore Woodturning, live stream, all things woodturning. And here you're going to find not only this one that's currently playing, but all the past live streams as well. So take a look at that website, woodturningtoolstore.com, Explore Woodturning, and find the resources there. So back to here and here. So hopefully that helps. I'm just looking through the comments. Gonzalo de la Cruz, good to see you here. Gonzalo, good to have you here. Thank you for joining. We have Lex is asking a question. Is that teardrop carbide or high-speed steel? It's T1 high-speed steel. So it's sharpenable on the CBN or stone wheels, simply on a platform. And I'll show a bit of that. I do have a video up on my website that you can watch to see how that's done. I've shown it in previous live streams. We'll maybe get to it today if possible. So, yeah. And that's it for Duncan's here from the UK. Good to have folks here joining from all over the place. Thank you for joining. All right, so let me get on we'll do this little plate first since it's already in a chuck. Some of you may have seen my small plates demo. And so that's what we're going to kind of look at right now. And you're going to have to just bear with me as I refocus cameras just a little bit here. And we'll get set up. So let me do that off. Tailstock camera, and that went by quick. There we go. Wide shot camera. Zoom that in a little bit. There we go. All right, and that's going to be our main shots. Let me get the overhead set up. Okay, so for this, I'm going to use the teardrop scraper. I'll use, yeah, because it's going to show best at this point. And then we'll get a bowl on here and show the other straight scraper and a few other things. So bowl scraper and all that kind of stuff. So, or the bowl gouge. But this was handy, so I wanted to show this. So if we look, that is a tad dark. Brighten that up a little bit. There we go. I'm going to show scraping in across this surface and then in this cove here with this half round bar. And so here's the shot of why the half round bar is like that. So I can twist and turn this guy and get any sort of rotation on it to go through there that I want. So I can go, if I go overhead and I go there. Oh, I got to do some maintenance on my overhead. It is complaining a little bit. So I can get nice straight up and down, and that's not in focus for some reason. There we go. That looks better. Straight up and down, and actually I can get that sidewall, that little fillet right there, I can get with this tool as well. I can get right in that corner and come out and scrape there. I can get down this nice cove with this nice curved feature here. So let's go through and do some of that. So power's off. Now it's on. We'll get up to speed. This is a piece of maple, by the way. Let me put that up and show that. Maybe that one. So turning about 1700 RPM, somewhere in there. We'll go down the cove. We'll go one at a time. We'll do the cove first, then the fillet, and then this outside bead. So down the cove, my tool is not flat. It's tipped about 45 degrees. I've got that edge engaged. The nice thing is this tool kind of, this teardrop shape allows me to do coves very nice and easy. So, and if I look at some of the shavings that are coming off, they're nice and small. So that tells me that I'm doing the right thing. And if I look at them closely, they're little spirals. So it's hard to tell, but they are little spirals. And so when we look at the curls that are coming off, they're not round and round, they're spiraled. So that tells me that I'm got a shear angle to my cutter. So that's nice and smooth. It feels nice and smooth. I'm going to get this fillet right in here, and I wonder if I can get in closer there. And let me focus on my tool right here. Okay, so if I turn this completely vertical, I can take the edge of this tool and bump it into that shelf right there. So now that edge is riding on that bevel right there. How close can I get? Pretty close. All right, so there, if I take that out and just open it a little bit and get on that edge and close it up as I get to the bottom, I've now cleaned that up. You see how shiny it is up there? You get that glint? Let's take some sandpaper. I have a piece of 120. We'll get rid of that shine. So that glint is gone now. We'll do that again. So bouncing on the edge or rubbing the bevel, I caught my tool there. We'll clean that up in a second. We'll open it up a little bit and close it when we get to the bottom. I'm running into that little catch I had. I'm going to do that one more time. And we get that shine back up there. So we got a nice clean cut up in there. So, and then when I can get to that bottom of that fillet, I'll do that again. I'm pretty vertical. I'll open the tool up again and scrape this bead. So now I got that shine back on my fillet. It's nice and clean. I've got a catch here. If I look in the other camera, I've got that spiraler on there. So what I would want to do is take my spindle gouge, which I think I have one out. I do. I need to clean that up and go back and fix that up. So the best way for me to do that, if I look at this plate, it's face grain turning. So if I look at my way I'm actually cutting, you want to cut from small diameter to large diameter. And so here, from the high point to the curve, I want to cut this way. From the high point, I want to cut this way. So if I wanted to clean up this back edge in the right orientation, I would cut this way downhill. But I want to clean up this side, so I'm going to cut from the top of the hill down to the valley. So that's not right, is it? Yes. No, that's actually backwards. But we're going to do it. We're going to break the rule here. Because I can't get my tool in there and come uphill. I can do that with the scraper, and that's what I was doing. But I need to get that cut out. So there's the heel of my tool. I'll rotate it around until I pick up the cut. There's the cut. Down into that valley or into that fillet. Still haven't cleaned it up. I got still a little bit of a cut mark there. So one more cut with that tool. There's the heel of the tool. Bringing my handle around till I pick up that cut. And we should have that cleaned up. We do all the way around. So now this fillet to me is a bit big. So that means I can come back, clean up this cove, and redo that fillet. So let's do that. Reduce that fillet size. We'll go in and clean that fillet up. Now, why am I doing that versus using a gouge to get in there? No reason, just other than I can do it. So once I have this tool in my hand, I can do a lot of things with it. So why not? And just blend in that cut from the gouge. and we've got a pretty good surface. I got some tool marks up here I need to kind of just smooth out, but my fillet is looking good. I've got a little bit right down right in the very bottom down there. That's what I wanted to get rid of. Back to just to clean that up with this guy. Just showing you some of the versatility you can do with a scraper and a shear scraping. So I didn't do any scraping with level tool. I had it turned over, came down the ramp, and that's kind of gnarly actually. I'm going to do that one again. Tool's held at about 35 degrees, I guess. And I think the further over you hold it, the kind of harder it is. Right here at this point, I'm actually riding that bevel just ever so slightly back here. So, and depends on the curve you're looking at, then you can do that. On the insides of the plate, which I don't have one here, I do the inside that way as well. I ride that rounded tip down the inside of the in the plate. So that's some basic shear scraping, and you can see the nice curly, and they are curly. It's hard to tell, but they are curly. So let's get on a bowl, and we'll show a little bit of the bowl gouge and its use. Let's see. Couple questions. Aaron is asking, does the bevel angle matter? On this tool, I put it about 75 degrees on my single bevel scrapers. All my scrapers are typically that same bevel angle. Does it matter? I think the answer depends. Depends on what you're comfortable with. Depends on maybe the wood. I've heard steeper angles for end grain. Sorry, I guess the larger angle. I don't know what steeper means to some people. So 70 degrees, 60, 70s, 75 degrees for, maybe end grain or tougher grain. You can go 50 degrees or thereabouts for maybe side grain. That's kind of the rule I kind of learned. I hadn't taken a class with Glenn Lucas, but he talked about sharpening one time. And he has a tool a bevel more than 90 degrees that he calls a end grain scraper. So I'm going to take some of his teachings, as what's worked for him and others, and kind of, deflect, I guess, the answer to that question to that. So I use 70 all the time. I know others use many others. The cutting edge is as from the grinder. Yes. Yeah. Straight off the grinder. I haven't honed that one. And so that's kind of the one thing there is I'll show honing on this triangular shaped spear scraper. Iron shear scraper. So I'm going to put on this bowl on the bowl blank on the lathe. I have this one between centers, and so we'll show that as well. What do I have on the back side here? Just my regular live center. So I'm just looking at the center mark to see what I used before. Use that same. So I've used Elio drive here. So I've got my 3 holes there. So that's what's going to get mounted on that side. And this is the way I mount bowl blanks to prep to put a tenon on. But I had this one kicking around, so I thought, well, let's go ahead and use it for demonstrating this bowl turning. So, all right, speed down, power on. That looks good. I'm just double checking those screws. This was mounted this morning or yesterday's. We should be good there. And tool rest in. So this is a place to show sort of traditional bowl gouge shear scraping that I learned from Al Sturt, and using this traditional tool. And let me just see where this one is set up. Bear with me as I do some autofocusing again. That looks pretty good. So that's fine. This one looks halfway decent. And overhead is all right. All right, good. So this tool, I'll show a little bit of flat scraping. So let me go here. You can see the tool flat on the tool rest. And we'll take a look at those chips as they come off versus when we have the tool up on the side. And we'll take a look at straight scraping. When you're straight scraping, I'm going to raise my tool rest to where it's about at center height. And so when I have my tool down, I'm going to lift the hand a little bit and scrape that way. That's the safe way to scrape if you're straight scraping with a single bevel tool. You don't really want to come at it this way because the wood will catch and it'll throw your handle up and you'll be in trouble. So start with the handle low, or the handle higher than the tip of the tool. What that really does is create a negative rake between your tool and the wood. So this angle right in here is less than 90 degrees. So, and that is key, right? So that's what you want to do. You want to worry about having an angle less than 90 degrees between your wood and your scraping tool. So if I have it less than 90, I'm probably going to be in for a rough ride, or more than 90, I'll be in for a rough ride. That'll be a problem there because that's just going to kick my tool up. All right. Let's see. Do I want to show? Yeah, I want to show that up there. All right. So I'm going to put on my spectacles. Get some speed here. This is running relatively smooth, 1600 RPM. I'm going to move my tool rest a little bit closer. I've got the handle kind of high, and I've got it tucked under my arm a little bit, so I'm up high like this, so I know my handle is higher than my cutting edge. I'm going to stop there for a quick second. Let me just sweep up. I'll sweep some of these. I want to get a good chip to show. All right, I've got a few in front of me here. So there's a chip, and what I can see is it's circular in nature. It's very flat. Here's a good example of sitting in my hand here. See how it's kind of coiled up? It's not spiraled. That's kind of what we're looking at in terms of the kind of curl coming off a straight cut, right? And it makes sense because the wood is just coming straight down and it's just kind of peeling off. If I go like this, we're going to get a spiral action. So let's just do a bit more flat scraping just to clean this up a little bit. And this flat scraping is very effective for reshaping a little bit. I got a little bit of bounce way out here. And I can use a bit of that curve to kind of get into the places I want to get to. So that looks pretty good. It leaves a pretty good finish on there. If I look around this way, maybe zoom in a little bit, you can kind of see it. It's a pretty good finish. Not bad at all. So there's nothing wrong with just doing that. Now, if we take the tool up on its, let's see, let's put that one. If we take the tool up on its edge, now we got a angle, not only of, now one of the other things to do is to keep in mind the angle between your wood and your scraper wants to be less than 90, so I need to tip this in. And then I have this turning angle that's coming down at a shear. So this is a shearing off the wood at an angle. So this is what I call shear scraping. So at the angle there, the other thing to think about, and I should mention, is when I'm shear scraping, I want to cut with probably the lower half of the tool. It's right underneath the fulcrum under here. This edge is the fulcrum. So anything under that sort of general area is going to be well supported. If I start cutting way up here, it's going to slam the tool down, or at least force it down. So cut with the lower half of the tool, and that is, I'm just looking for maybe my pencil will work. Let's see if my pencil will work on here. Not really. It's sort of there. You can maybe see, yeah, you can see that. So I want to try and cut that pencil line or below. And by below, I mean the lower half closer to the tool rest. So again, closing this angle between the wood and the tool, and raising the hand a little bit, still tucked up under my elbow, and bring it across. And if I try and catch some of those shavings, and take a look at those. These are now much finer chips, and they're curly. So they're a little bit more curly than the straight flat chips that are rolled in a circle. These are more spiraled and stuff. So that's a bit of difference. If you look at your chips, you kind of know what kind of cut you're making. Now the angle of this tool, whether it's just slightly up or more up, is really kind of dependent on how fine a cut you want to make. If I go super straight up and down, I'm not cutting hardly much anything, and I can make some really nice gentle cuts, and the chips are going to be more tightly spiraled. And that might help with grain that's maybe a bit gnarly, a bit hard. Right up here, I've got some really rough grain, so we'll go up to that area and see if I can smooth some of this out a little bit. This area is close to the pith, and so it's a bit rough, especially on this side where there's some rot that had started. So I'm going to zoom that out just a little bit so we can see this area. Again, tool high, and as I go through right here, my angle is very acute. As I get up here without moving my body, it's now more open. So I got to be sure to be able to tuck my body over this way and not go like this, because right there, that angle is too wide open. So always less than 90 degrees between the wood and your shear scraper. And I'm running out of a bit of room here. Grain direction, right. I was going to get back to that. So from a bowl perspective, this is cross grain or face grain wood. Some people call this side grain. I really have an issue with that term myself. I feel it's face grain. Side grain is up here going that way. This is face grain. Anyway, that's just me. That's just me from woodworking days. But the same thing, because sometimes I get people confused. Side grain, thinking side grain is spindle oriented, because that's the side of the spindle. But so I call this face grain or face work and stuff like that. So cutting this stuff, you want to cut from small down to large diameter. That's going to give you the best cut because the fibers are supported that way up. If we look at this, let's look at this side of end grain. All this grain is down here, supported by the next one up, and so on and so forth. And it's kind of like your fingers. If I was to look at my fingers there, cutting this way, this guy, and I can't really do that middle one, so that's what I do. I do it that way. I don't know how I do it. I can't do it. Anyway, I usually show my fingers, but you kind of get the idea. Straws work in that sort of idea as well. But this gives you, cutting in this direction gives you a cut with the grain, and so it comes out very smooth. So let's look at a couple of these other tools. Oh, first of all, let's look at traditionally what people might use, which is a bowl gouge for this cut. So bowl gouge definitely works. I'll drop the tool rest for this one, because what I'm going to be doing, and if I take that off and I zoom this out a little bit, and then we show that. I'm going to be dropping this handle quite low, and I'm going to be putting the tool up high, and so it's actually cutting above center. You can actually bring this up, tool rest up higher, and cut more above center as well, depending on your comfort and stuff. The action, or the wing that we're cutting with, is this back wing with the flute closed to the vessel. So we're not touching this top wing, we're touching just the back wing. And basically, that back wing is acting just like this guy right there. So same idea. We're just cutting with that edge. We're keeping this guy on the wood at a shear angle because it's slightly angled. It's not straight up and down, it's slightly angled. And it's going to do the same sort of effect. So that, and I'm trying to capture shavings. I can't really do it. That is kind of doing the same sort of thing. That's really coming off powdery, but you can see where I was cutting. You can see the dust in there. So I was cutting with that area of the flute right around there. And that's why I like a convex surface. So I get a curved surface touching a curved surface. So I'm really cutting with a very small piece of that, and it's moving along that edge. So if you cut with too much surface at once, you're going to be just grabbing too much wood at once. So if I take this tool, flat on the rest, which conforms to this surface, and I stick that right into that curve, all of this surface is going to catch. It's going to be a lot of wood to remove at once. So you don't want to do that. Cut just a little bit at a time, and that's why this is curved. So we can cut a little bit at a time along a curved surface. This applies to this tool as well. So this is the iron shear scraper. I'm going to back this out a little bit because I've got this wing hanging down here. And if I put that on, so I'm again holding the tool up. This is a handleless tool. It's just the bar. And we're going to angle it up a little bit, just like any other sort of scraping tool. I'm making sure that this angle between the wood and the tool is less than 90. And it's the same action as the as this one. And if we look at those shapes, we're very similar in shape. So so it's the same sort of action. You may want to put a handle on this to tuck it up under your arm and stuff, but same idea. And there's some nice curly shavings coming off. Now you can look at the tool and see that I cut with the lower third of the tool. I didn't cut up here. I cut with this section down here from where the dust is down to the tip. And that does the same sort of function as the other tools. It's all kind of related. To get an entry, I usually start fairly vertical, and then I'll turn the tool open as I come through. And this might be just a little bit loose. Let's tighten that up a little bit with my hex wrench. It's got a spring washer under there, so I just tighten up the hex wrench. That makes it a much stiffer sort of to turn it. And I've just turned it. We were cutting on this side. Now I've turned to a fresh edge on this side. And we can dig and actually shape quite a bit with a scraper. This one is maybe not the best one to do it with, but I'm creating a little bit of a shelf here just to create some texture. If I get something with a bit more leverage, like this tool, maybe my tool rest is just a bit high for that. One of the things that Al Sturt taught was a little bit of how to create some simple texture with a simple scraper. And a small 1/2 inch round nose scraper is perfect for this kind of technique. Not flat, but up on a skew, just like we're doing here. And do a bunch of little shallow coves all the way up. And it's quite a neat effect. So those kind of things can help. I'm going to scrape this little section right in there. And we get a nice sort of scallop, and scallop, and scallop, and scallop. This was the bowl that I turned in that class with Al Sturt, and it's got all those little scallop marks all the way up it. It's a piece of beautiful bow dark that has aged ever so nicely. Cracked on the bottom, but hasn't moved since it cracked. What's that, 2008? I can't even count. 15 years? Something like that, 15 years ago. So next is this big tool. I need a tool handle for this one. So this guy, spear point scraper, is great for going both ways. So if you have, and I'll maybe pull out my spindle-oriented vase here in a minute. You can scrape that way, but you can also scrape this way. So you've got that same sort of shape right here as you did with this guy, as you did with this guy, as you do with that guy, the teardrop scraper, as you do with your gouge. So there is a very common thread between a lot of these shear scrapers. So this one, I have to kind of use my left hand because I got to use this edge. I want to cut in this direction, and I can't do that with this side because I would be typically going this way. So let me see. So handle up, going downhill this way, I would run into problems with the grain direction. So I need to go this way, uphill this way, and need to back this off just a little bit because I've got this rolled or this curved edge that I need to get my full edge on the tool rest. So I may have to pull the tool rest back a little bit to get that full edge on the tool rest. Again, handle high, tool nose lower, single bevel tool, and maybe we'll move this around and we'll scrape this area up here. And I wonder, that doesn't show anything, never mind. Oops. All right, so handle high, tool edge low. Bring that around for a bit more support. Now, this is important to see either there or there. Maybe this might show it a bit better if I just bring this over a little bit there. I've got the tool up on edge, and that's creating this less than 90 degrees between the tool and the wood. And I've got the handle high, so I'm not dragging this tool and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's the position I'm using it at. The lower I go on this angle, if I do some straight scraping with this held flat, I want my handle higher than my tool tip and flat on the rest. Creating those round curls. And where's my view? overhead, creating those round curls instead of the spiral ones. So it's hard to, I'm covered in different kind of curly things. So, so that's kind of a little bit of an overview on shear scraping on a bowl. Let's look at a spindle form. And I'll stop here. I'm going to do a little bit of catching up on stuff. Let's see, Duncan, if the cutting edge is straight from the grinder, what wheel do you use, and will a standard manufacturer wheel work? Okay. Yes, good question, Duncan. Yes, I use 180 grit CBN wheel for most all of this scraper grinding. And one thing to keep in mind, because it's a really good question, if you have that is negative rake. So if you have this, and let me see if that one, I got to get myself out of the way. Maybe I'll just do overhead. If you have this kind of cutter or a single bevel tool like that one or this one, then what you want to do is when your grinding wheel comes down on it, it's actually creating a burr up this way. One of the things you can do, and sometimes I do, and especially with this triangular one and this one, is I will do a little bit of hand honing on it as well. And I should have shown this. Maybe I'll put this back up and show this. So right now, if I could drag my finger across that, I feel a pretty good edge. I'll take a hone, a 600 grit hone. I'll take that edge off, that burr off. So now it's fairly blunt. I'll take that hone again and push up on the bevel. So I'm on the bevel and pushing up through and across. I don't want to go back and forth. I want to go one direction, that way, and that's going to create a little bit of a burr up there. And if my fingernails don't work well doing this because they're all wavy, but you can cut your fingernail on that burr. I'm not showing that on screen. That's about focused. There you go. Anyway, so that's what you want to look for, is a little burr. And that burr, by the way, is the same idea as these card scrapers, right? So the way you sharpen a card scraper is almost exactly this. Well, it's the same principle. I've got an edge here. I'll flatten this with a file or a hone. I'll flatten this face with a file and hone, and then I'll take a carbide burr, carbide tool, something very hard, and I'll curl an edge on this thing. And so I get a little fold of metal over this long edge, and that's what allows you to bend and scrape with that edge. It's the same thing on here. It's the same burr, same idea. So, yeah, good question. So, yeah, you can take it straight from the grinder, or you can hone a little bit at the lathe. I do both. Let's see. Woody, do you use a different tool rest when using a bowl gouge? So that's a good question. There is a new rest from Robust. And if I take it out, I didn't use it. I should have. Good sort of segue. Get myself off there. And let me take this comment down. So important about you when you're doing shear scraping with the bowl gouge is to get that rest as close and get the handle way down low. Sometimes this comfort rest, this one, doesn't allow you to get the handle that low. If we look at this angle here across the rest, Brent and the team over there at Robust came out with the shear scrapers rest, which allows you to get that angle really low. So here's these two side by side. So there is the difference in the angles, this curve versus that shallow curve. So this is a shear scrape rest. and this is just a comfort rest. So it allows you to get that bowl gouge closer. I typically can manage with a comfort rest, but the shear scraper rest does help. Good question. Let's see. Dean, are you still? I hope I'm on. Hopefully everybody can hear me. See, let me see what Todd Williams has a comment here. Let me read through this. With most scrapers, the cutting is done with a burr, either off the wheel or after burnishing. Further, the burr lasts only 30 seconds or so. Do you know if any other factors which would speak against this? No, that's about right. That's kind of what I said. Looks like Todd's think alike. Excellent. Well done. Good summary, Todd. I will say 30 seconds is actually a long time because when I look at this edge, I can cut with this millimeter, 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 so on and so forth. You get the idea, is that I can use this whole edge, and because it's curved on a curved surface, I'm only really touching a very small portion of that edge at one time. So this will last me through a bowl. I will say that. So, and then it's easy to kind of hone and restrike an edge at the lathe. Let's see. Oh, Ed Maston's here. Good to have you here, Ed. Thank you for joining. Let's see. Where's my... There we go. Scrolling down. I like the stepped effect. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, there's lots of very simple to do too. Todd says, what about the inside of the bowl? I find it harder to smooth than the outside. Yes. Yeah, good point. I don't have a setup to show the inside of a bowl, but I will say, this is a roughed out blank. It's not ready to turn. I wouldn't use this tool in there. I wouldn't really use this tool in there, maybe on the bottom only to get that bottom flat. But I'm more of a negative rake scraper guy inside here. But I do use this tool, the teardrop tool in there. So I'll use it to get to the bottom. What I can do with it is I can rotate it over and I can come up the sidewall with it. So I do a lot of inside bowl scraping with this tool. Another part of the versatile action of it. So, oh, thank you, Shelley. Good question. I won't be able to show that today, though. Let's see. Can you raise a burr with a hard rod? Yes. So I've got I happen to have a triangular burnishing tool for my card scrapers, but that'll work. I've got this other tool for my card scrapers that I don't have right in front of me. Oh, there it is. This is one of these Veritas burnishers, and if I pull this out, what's inside is this little carbide rod, and I have a few. Don't know where they are. I have a couple other rods in the shop somewhere, but this little rod, it's set at an angle like this, so you can vary the angle. This is for card scrapers. That's all it works for. But we've got a nice sort of scale to set what angle you want your burnishing at, from plus 15 to minus 15, depending on which way you're going, which side of the tool you're using. So, yeah, card slot is there. So, yeah, a hard rod for burnishing works. Take the question down. All right, thank you. Let's see. And Duncan, when you're doing scraping right, in the UK, we call the fine shavings angel hairs. Yep, good. Same thing. But take a look when you're scraping versus shear scraping. Take a look at those curls. You'll see that they're curled up in a nice sort of ball, or they'll spiral away. And so that's indicative of seeing how you're cutting. John, when sharpening a negative rake scraper, do you take the burr off one side before turning the burr? Yeah. Oh, so this is where I wanted to get with. Thanks for the lead there, John. Good segue tie-in. So here I've put a negative rake on my one of my teardrop cutters, and so the way to sharpen this is if you want to do your own, whether it's with this tool or this kind of tool, whatever you want to do. Put your negative rake on, and did I bring one out? Well, here's some. Here's that one. Here it is. All right. Here's a couple other variations on the negative rake. This is one of these Boxmaster tools from D-Way from Jimmy Allen over there. He's got a negative rake, a very steep bottom angle, probably almost 85 degrees, and a very shallow top angle. So match those. And then here's the robust one. We've got I can't remember, I think it's 20-degree angle on top and 45 below. I'm not quite sure. I can't remember. What you want to do is get that top rake done first. So on that and on this. And then when you go to sharpen them, all you do is sharpen the bottom angle. So if I was to sharpen this guy, I would sharpen this bottom bevel only. If I was to sharpen this guy, I would sharpen the bottom bevel only. And it's important to note about the robust is that they put some black nitrided coating on this to help hardening. And essentially, he's got the top nitrided coat on the top bevel already. So the recommendation is don't touch this top black bevel because it's already hard. Only sharpen the bottom side. So this one's already done for you. When you get a robust, you don't need to touch this one up at all. And then I don't sell these negative rake except for the small ones. But put your negative rake on top and then sharpen the bottom bevel. And that will raise the burr on that edge between at the junction of the two bevels. So that's the idea, is that when you sharpen this bottom bevel, even though it's counterintuitive because your tool's at this angle and your wheel's going down against this way, it's still raising a burr on that top edge. It's physics, folks. As far as I know. Okay, so good question, John. Thank you for that one. Let's see. We should grind an edge on our tool rest. Should we grind an edge on our tool rests? No. Lowell, are you talking about this tool rest edge? No, but what you want to do is keep it smooth. So maintenance is nice, a little sandpaper, a little wax, keep the gunk off. So let's see. Yeah, a screwdriver can work if it's a good quality screwdriver, for sure. I've done that before too. Let's see. Oh, we got... Okay, Duncan's got a question, and in the UK, Henry Taylor makes a great range of scrapers, including heavy-duty ones for inside of bowls that stop chatter. Yes, good call. Yeah, Henry Taylor. I'm sure there's a few others that make some negative rake scrapers and stuff. So, yeah, look for your local supplier to get those for you. So let me do something here. So next week, Cindy is, and I got to get into the corner, Todd. There we go. Is actually not doing a live stream. She's doing a sharing session. I think I put that in here. So, but every other week beyond that, she's live streaming. So take a look, sign up to her email address or newsletter list, and she'll email you details. This is the old graphic. So she's done part 1 already. This one happened on July 20th. No, that's the follow-up. Sorry. This one happened, I don't know when. Doesn't even say on there. Oh, July 1st. Sorry, there it is. The top. The follow-up is on the 20th. That's a week yesterday. And then part 2 says there, I can't even put to it, 29th. So I didn't have the graphic for part 2. This is a great demo. She showed all these sort of brass type threaded inserts and put them into boxes, and actually made her own, turned some brass down. Fantastic demo. Check out part 2. She's going to do some hand chasing and I don't know, some other stuff. So sign up at cindydroza.com, and that should be fun. Let me see. I've got that here. Every 2 weeks. Yeah, here it is. Sharing session on July 20th from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. So go to Cindy's site, get on her newsletter, and next week join us for a sharing session. And here's Threaded Boxes and Vessels Part 2, Hand Chasing with Cindy Droza, July 29th, 1 to 4, 1 to 5. Who knows? She might go a little long. So it can't see me, but I'm smiling ear to ear here. Yeah, so that should be a lot of fun. Anything you see in here today is from Woodturning Tool Store. Oh, there's my bamboo. Let's take a look. I had that over here, overhead. This was so this is what I kind of started with. I finished off a few different ones here and just slapped on some lime colored or melon colored dye just to kind of see what the effect was. And it looks pretty nice right in here where you get that grain showing through. So I wanted to try dye first before I painted. And but if anybody else has tried the bamboo thing, you know, let me know. So I got some more work there to do. Let's see. Next week, no, not next week, 2 weeks from today, which is the 28th, I'm going to have a special guest. Neil Brand's going to join me. He's going to be a regional demonstrator at SWAT. We're going to have a little chat about what he's doing, what he's done. He's a friend. He's a local club member, and he's a math wizard. So he's a math professor, retired. But he's got some great. He's got a great demo at SWAT. I want you to go and watch that and join him. So that'll be fun having a guest on next week. So take a look at that. Let's see. Do I have? That's all I have there, I think. There's my teardrop scraper. There's the iron shear scraper, and I think we're back to overhead. Okay, let me quickly see. What time do we have? Do we still have time? I think we have time. We're going to make a little time because I'm going to show this one and just do a quick little bit on spindle-oriented shear scraping, because there is little differences there. I was knocking out my LEO drive. Yeah, thanks, honey. 3:47. Look, I'm already 17 minutes overtime, but we're going to keep going for a second. All right, so this is a small ash hollow form I turned, I think probably on a live stream a while ago. And let me just see. The speed down, turn that on. I'm going to do it without tailstock support today. I do have a rubber chucky I can put on the end, but I want to try and get access to the end here. So this is where, and I'm going to show just 2 of the tools doing this. The iron shear scraper, because this is really what prompted this live stream on shear scraping, is a customer asking, you know, or commenting that there's some learning curve with this thing, and there sure is. So if we look at this ash vase, it's kind of like swirly grain, but it is a spindle-oriented vase. And so that means the grain is running this way along the thing. So we've got a long sweeping, supposed to be a long sweeping curve. It's just barely curved along this length, and then a very short curve down here. So on spindle turning, I want to turn from high, largest diameter to lowest diameter. So that means I want to scrape from this high spot all the way down this way, and then from this high spot down this way. So this is where the iron shear scraper kind of works. And my teardrop cutter really works and excels. So both of these tools excel here. You can do it with a bowl gouge. It's a little bit more, I don't know, fiddly, I guess. Plus this, by the way, I should say that this is dry. This is almost finished. This is pretty thin already. It's probably, maybe 3/16 down to an eighth right at the end here, but it's probably it's getting a little fatter down here. But normally this kind of work, if you're doing this kind of work, you're scraping maybe dry wood as well. You can do it with wet wood if you're doing it all in one turning, but just FYI, this is dry wood. So I'm going to raise the tool rest because I'm cutting. If I look here, it's almost at center or just below. If I'm cutting with the, let me erase those dust marks. Let me just zoom that in just a little bit. So I'm cutting just probably below center if I'm cutting down there, plus if I have the handle up. So I want to raise the rest, maybe a knuckle's worth. I say a knuckle, I've got my finger width between my locking collar and my rest. So now I'm up higher and I can shear scrape. I want to keep, again, this angle between the wood and the cutter, less than 90 degrees. I don't want to open it up like that, but I want to have it closed up. Don't want to have it up like that. I want to have it tilted over. This would be just too aggressive. The more from horizontal to vertical you go, the less aggressive it gets. Think of it that way. All right, there's a slow speed. Get up a little faster. Doesn't have to be too fast, 16, 17 RPM. Might go faster depending on the wood. Just a light touch here. And it's squealing because it's a little thin already. But demo purposes, this is doing what I want. I'm getting fairly dusty stuff coming off. So let me go ahead and throw. This is going to interfere a little bit with the work, but we'll put a rubber chucky and just kind of stop the squeal because that is a little bit annoying. All right. So now I've got this rubber chucky thing to kind of worry about running into, but I'm going to get a lot more stability, a lot less whine out of the turning, especially since it's already quite thin. So from the high spot, all the way down to the low spot. And that's cleaning up a little bit. I got a little rough spot right there. I'm betting that's that curly knot. Yeah, I was feeling that knot. So, but yeah, otherwise that looks pretty good. The trick is to get this bottom section down here. And if I look, does that, setting up one more camera. I set up just for this view today. And that's it there. And I think I'm a little bit out of focus. Oop, just passed it right there. All right. So now the trick is to kind of get down here, but I need to go this direction. So that means, how do I get there? I may have to I'll put the tool down for a second. Right in there and see if I can't scrape down that way, which is doable. It's just awkward, but let's try it. I need to have a bit more room there so that, let's see, overhead. so I can get from down high diameter down to low diameter. And I may tuck that in as close as I can to the chuck. And that is where I'm getting to there. So let's see how well that goes. So high diameter. Yeah, so right at this point, I'm in trouble, right? I'm in trouble because what is the angle between my cutting blade and my wood? It's close to 90 degrees. So now I'm not really scraping anymore. I'm starting to go to a cut, which is difficult to do. So what's the solution here? Well, one solution that Phil showed in a demo was to turn it in reverse and go on top down that way. Because now if I go to this view, the angle between my wood and the cutter is less than 90 degrees. The wood's going to be pulling away from me, so I'm going this way. Oops, here, my hand is in the way. The tool is going to go from up here down to the corner. And I can get this corner right into the corner down in there. And if I look back to overhead, that's where I'm kind of getting to, right in there. So that's one solution. So let's go forward. Let's go reverse, I mean. So this is more of a overhand sort of scrape. Not something I'm used to very often, but and let me go to that view. So I've got I'm going to back this up a little bit because this point is hanging up. I've got the tool bar on the rest. So that's an interesting technique that I had not really worked out before. Does kind of pull the tool, so you kind of got to figure out how that works. The other tool that might work is the teardrop scraper back in that corner. Why would this work more than another one? I don't know. Let's see if we can make it work. The one thing about this is I've got a versatile tip I can get switched around into a different configuration. So now I've got a tip that I can get down into that corner. And so I can work this way with the tool out here. So let's try that. I'm going to turn the tool rest around more horizontal. Put the spin back in forward. I'm going to raise my tool rest a little bit more. I'm going to have the handle higher. It's up a little higher than the point. The point is down low, and I can work from this angle down to the corner, from high spot down to the low spot. So for me, this particular point is a little easier to get to with this tool. So that's why I like being able to change the angle on this thing, being able to rotate this to whatever angle I want, being able to get this point into places where I can't normally get to. One of the places I get it into is one last little point of things that I do. So I do these bowl and bowl concepts, and when this is on the lathe this way, I have this in here to scrape clean. So the same way I did the edge of that plate or that fillet of the plate, I take my tool and I'm going to just swivel it ever so slightly. I'll swivel it to the other side. And I take it down that wall and into that corner and scrape up there. So this point can get me into that corner right there and on this side wall, scraping that short wall there. So another place where you can swivel that tip on this guy to reach places that may be difficult to reach. Anyway, I am expounding way too much on this stuff. Let me go back to comments. Where am I at? I got to catch up. Let me go back. Let's see. There's Cindy's. Join her live stream or her mail list to sign up. There we go. I'm big again. Threaded boxes, part 2, July 29th. Yep. Check that out. Perfect. And then, Jim, might this triangle shaped scraper fit on an easy wood tool? I don't know. It's got a, I don't know what an easy wood tool fits on. It's got a, well, let me go over here. It's got a through screw. Looks like a 1024, maybe something, might be metric because it's from the UK. Well, this is made New Zealand. It's designed by Phil Irons out of the UK. Phil used to be Australian, but now he's UK-ish. I don't know. He's helped develop a number of the woodcut tools, so he's a great turner and instructor. So can try it. I don't know. We do sell the spare triangle scrapers just by themselves. Let's see. Let's see. Just going through more. Todd, where'd you get the rubber tailstock from? Rubberchucky.com. Look at that. Shelly is on. Yeah, it's all one word. So rubber, no space, chucky.com. They're great little things. They come in all different sizes too. So here's a smaller version of it. They got pointy versions. They got big versions. Oh, and well, this one shows it. It's got a chuckable tenon on it or the threaded insert. These are 10 by 3/4 by 10 thread, which fits most tailstocks, robust, Powermatics. I'm not sure about UK made, European made lathes. Steve, good to have you. Good demo. I'll be using my teardrop scraper a bit more. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. With that said, I got through everything. Let me get back here. Get a hold of me if you have any questions. This is again for replay. Check out my live stream in a couple of weeks to meet Neil Brand and talk a little bit about what he does. Makes all kinds of neat little things. He does a lot of craft shows and sells a bunch. So he's got some good information on that kind of stuff. And he'll be at SWAT demonstrating. I'll be there at SWAT August 25th through the 27th, I think. And in the trade show, Cindy will be there. And I know a lot of you will be there. So it'll be good to catch up with everybody. If you have any other questions, shoot me an email, throw me a photo of what you've done. Got any questions? Make some bamboo. I want to see some people making bamboo. I don't know. I kind of went through that, and I still got to figure it out and play with it because I think that'd be a neat concept to add to some other stuff. Other than that, I am going to say good day. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. Stay cool. Be safe in your shops. Create something and be kind. We'll see y'all next time. Bye for now.